Hey everybody, it's Anna and welcome back to my booktube channel. I think this is the first time since starting this channel that I've actually intentionally sat down to film at night because everything is quiet and it honestly right now just feels like we're in the eye of the storm. So in case you've been living under a rock or you're watching this from the future and the human race gets through it all, I'm making this video as kind of a response to just all of the coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic stuff that's been going on, which I know is having everybody that I know super stressed out and super worried about the health and safety of ourselves and our loved ones and what we can and can't do to not only control the spread of the virus and minimize damage, but also control the spread of misinformation and just like gossip and rumor mongering that isn't really helping anybody at all. There's a lot of fake news out there. There's a lot of people that unfortunately are trying to capitalize on this for their own personal gain, including but not limited to the President of the United States. So there's that. But this video is not going to be about that, and it's also not going to really be about any of the stuff that, you know, the CDC and the WHO have been recommending, like hand washing and social distancing and stuff like that. All of these things are very important, but I wanted to make a video to talk about something that I think is just as important as maintaining your physical health, and that is how to build and maintain mental resiliency during a time like this. I mean, I guess you could apply this advice to any time in your life, but I feel like now is a good time to bring it up. And I just want to do a quick disclaimer. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not licensed or certified or studied anything in terms of mental health or anything like that. I am just a person who wants to share some advice of what has worked for me as somebody that has lived with various, varying degrees of severe mental illness off and on for my whole life, basically. And so this is more just like advice from a friend. Obviously, if you need actual like mental health intervention assistance, there are lots of hotlines that you can call. I will leave the phone numbers for the National Suicide Hotline and a bunch of other hotlines in particular, or you can always talk to your doctor. I know that people are really trying to avoid unnecessary doctor's visits right now, but please, if you think that you are in a position where you are having a mental health emergency or you need help, go get that help. That is the most important thing that you can do to safeguard your mental health. I am not the person to come to for that. I just want to share some things that have worked for me. So, the first thing that I wanted to share is just sort of like some words of reassurance and something that I constantly come back to. It's something that like I have learned over years and years of therapy, is that it is really okay to just sort of sit with the fact that the situation that we're in right now really sucks. It really sucks. I'm not going to try and sugarcoat it. It's shitty and it's really bad for a lot of people. But just, if you can, try to remember to keep in perspective that even though it is going to probably go on for a long time, that this is temporary. This is going to pass. It's not going to last forever. It's not going to be like this forever. That is something that I try to remind myself often, both in this situation and, whether I'm dealing with like a regular run-of-the-mill depression flare when the world isn't on fire or some other bad thing. Just remember that everything is temporary, and that's kind of oddly comforting because it means that bad times won't last forever. There's another thing that I learned how to do in therapy, and it's a little acronym that's called NARC. It's a bad name for it, but it's a memorable acronym. So basically, if you find yourself getting overwhelmed by anxiety or overwhelmed by intrusive thoughts, you just NARC, which stands for name what you're feeling, accept that you're feeling that way. That's the part that I struggle with because I like to be the kind of person that just sort of puts on a happy face and tries to fake it till I make it. Sometimes I just need to sit with the fact that I feel anxious, or I feel afraid, or I feel really, really angry. And that's just how it is. I'm not going to try and change it. I'm just going to allow myself to feel the way that I feel. Then there's reframe, which is basically, now that you have named how you're feeling and acknowledged and like accepted that that is how you feel, How do you reposition yourself within the perspective of, the whole world? This basically just is a way to help you figure out what you want to do next. So it's kind of like, well, I'm feeling anxious right now. What do I want to do when I'm feeling anxious? Can I do something comforting? Can I make myself a cup of tea? Can I go take a shower? Can I go cuddle my dog? Something like that. Reframe how you're thinking about it so that the anxiety doesn't take up your entire field of vision, if that makes sense. And then C is continue. Just continue with what you are doing. Take some time to just sit, feel the way you're feeling. I'm totally ascribing to the John Oliver school of have your 30 seconds to feel really pissed off about whatever it is that you're upset got canceled or postponed or otherwise messed with because of this pandemic. Let yourself feel the way you feel about that and then find a way to reframe and continue. I think that that's really helpful. I think that for me, dealing with mental illness, especially during a time when everybody else is just as stressed out as I am, one of the most important things that I can do for myself and that I recommend you do for yourself is give yourself something to look forward to every day. This doesn't have to be something huge. This can be going to look at a favorite tree, whether you can get out onto a balcony at your apartment or open a window and see something. This can be something simple like putting on a special pair of fuzzy socks. For me, lately, it has been getting up and seeing what's going to be going on in Animal Crossing New Horizon. You can give yourself something silly to look forward to. It doesn't have to be a big life event, just something that you are excited about. And you can even write it down. You can write down, when I wake up in the morning, I am going to go do that thing. And it can still be in your house. Just give yourself something to look forward to. Kind of connected to that is that if you have that special something that you've been saving for a special occasion, I don't know, I have this bottle of wine that I was given for my birthday a couple months ago, and I haven't drunk it yet. I've been saving it for, something special. Now is the time to use the thing that you have been saving for a special time. I'm not advocating that you go out, get wasted or anything, but I'm just saying now is the time to still be able to celebrate life even when life isn't great. You know what I'm saying? This does not have to be anything related to food or drink. Like I said, I usually have a pair of fuzzy socks that I'll put on, and that'll be something special, Another thing that weirdly enough helps me feel better is watching Christmas movies or watching Halloween movies. I'm thinking specifically Nightmare Before Christmas and Muppet Christmas Carol, because those are special movies that I usually only watch during those holiday times of the year. Otherwise, I would watch them constantly. But now is the time to enjoy that special thing that normally you would hold off on. I think that another important thing that you can do for yourself as an individual is to stay on a schedule. I'm kind of lucky in this regard because my job basically can be done anywhere that has an internet connection. I don't need to go in and report to an office every day. I can freelance and I can even do writing offline and stuff as long as I have an internet connection. I'm able to do that. So I've had a lot of time to practice keeping myself on a schedule, but I think it's very important to kind of set those parameters because it really helps your brain stop from hamster wheeling, which is what I call it when it just feels like it's spinning and spinning and spinning and there's no end in sight and everything is out of control. You don't need to schedule everything down to the minute. It can be something as simple as, I find it really helpful though to write down every little thing where it's I'll wake up at this time, I will take a shower, and then I will do this, and then I will do this. And it's less of a timetable and more of a just here's the order of how the day is going to go. Here's the structure of how the day is going to go, and here's how I'm going to plan it out. At the same time, we are all acting under extraordinarily stressful and extraordinarily different circumstances. Everybody has different circumstances, different challenges. For instance, I'm not worried about losing my job in this scenario. I'm lucky that we're still able to be pretty financially secure, all things considered. I don't have children to take care of. I don't have a job that requires me to have face-to-face meetings over camera. And many people do have to deal with those things. So if you're finding it difficult to stick to a schedule or difficult to stick to these goals, that's okay. These are really unprecedented times. It is okay if you don't do it perfectly. Just do the best you can and remember that you're doing it for yourself and your own sanity and well-being as much as anything else. I think that some other things that you can do that are good for yourself are, I have notes here because I'm really stressed trying to film this video and I'm like, I'm gonna forget what I'm gonna say. Do things that relax you. Like I said, I've been playing a lot of Animal Crossing lately. Play a relaxing game. If you can't go outside, if you're on a place where you're locked down, there are tons of great walking simulators that you can easily play from like a phone or a laptop. You can put on videos of like the ASMR Rooms channel if you're missing the sort of hubbub of a crowded coffee shop or you just want to listen to some sounds out in nature. These are all pretty free or low-cost things. I understand, again, it's a privilege to be able to be connected to the internet at this time, and not everybody has that privilege. If you do, however, I think that that's something that could be really useful. Also going along with that is making sure that you are taking the time to check in with your people, check in with your support system. I cannot stress the importance of checking in with those people that are your support. Just because you can't be in close physical proximity to them right now doesn't mean you have to be completely cut off from communication. And we are way more connected than we ever have been. I mean, everybody's heard of Skype, now everybody's heard of Zoom, all of that stuff. Do what you need to do to stay in touch with your people. You can do a lot of fun things virtually together. You know, if you've ever dated someone long distance, you've probably watched some sort of TV show or movie with them over the internet. You know, you can now play board games virtually. Stay connected with your people as much as you can. If you are living in the same house as somebody and it is, you know, safe and or appropriate to do so, always getting, you know, like hugs from your humans, like I get hugs from my husband or hugs from your pets, are always a great idea. Again, I understand that is not everybody's situation, but if that is your situation, a hug really goes a long way. I also have been really trying hard and mostly not doing great at this, but to limit my news exposure. And what I mean by that is not necessarily putting my head in the sand and trying to tune out the world as much as I would like to do that sometimes. I am trying to basically just go to reputable news sources a couple times a day because the cycle is such that now it's been about every 12 hours we've had a major news update. So I'm basically trying only to check the news as often as I can to be informed. What I'm really trying to avoid is basically just endlessly scrolling through Twitter or other social media spaces, because for me personally, that really intensifies my anxiety around everything. I think that if that's, you know, what you need to do to go get your outlet and stuff, that is great. That's fine. You do you. I just want to recommend, if you're feeling yourself like be really stressed out, think about designating a time or a certain amount of time that you're going to spend reading the news and checking in with reputable sources, and then try not to go over that. Again, it's not perfect. Don't beat yourself up if you're not able to keep to that. I certainly haven't kept to that. I've gotten swept up in the fear and the anxiety as much as the next person, but just try to limit your exposure to the news, because eventually there just comes like a law of diminishing returns there with how useful that can be. Something that kind of really hurt me hard was the fact that our public libraries closed down, but I am very lucky that our public libraries have extensive ebook and audiobook offerings. If you have access to a smartphone and a library card, you will probably be able to, you might not, depending on your system, you might not even need to have a library card in order to access their electronic collections. I know a lot of library systems are moving that way now, where like you need a card if you want to check out physical books, but if you want to check out ebooks or audiobooks, which you can totally consume on a smartphone, or even I think in a web browser, then that's a really good way to like keep yourself occupied. You know, take this time to read comforting books, read things that are your favorites, read something. I've been reading a lot about like cooking and baking. I mean, I know everybody and their mother is making sourdough bread. I kind of had my sourdough craze a couple years ago already, so I'm trying to branch out into learning how to make new different types of pastries that I never have before. Nothing super fancy. It's literally just like, okay, what can I make with the stuff in my kitchen and with some kitchen substitutions, since we are trying to limit our trips out to the grocery store and stuff like that. If you can, And this one is like very heavily asterisked. Your mileage may vary. Experience going outside in some way. Don't go to like a crowded park. Don't be having a picnic or something like that. But even if it's something as simple as just like opening the windows and breathing in fresh air for a few minutes, if you can, that can really do a lot to boost your mood. I know it is really hard now where I live to go outside and still maintain appropriate social distancing. So I've been having to take my dogs out in yet more creative places where people aren't, and at weird times when people usually aren't walking around. But that can do wonders. And if you can't go outside, like I said, there are an awful lot of recordings out there of nature sounds, naturescapes, documentaries. There's, like I said, also a ton of really great walking simulator games. I'll go ahead and also like make sure that there's going to be a lot of resources linked in the description for this video, because I feel like these all sound like good ideas, but I know for me, sometimes I need to have it like written down in front of me when I'm in a time of stress. Otherwise, I won't know like where to go looking for it on my own and stuff like that. So if you have any, ideas for how to help build your mental resiliency in these times, go ahead and share those in the comments below, because I would really like to get this, being a collective resource that we can all use and share. And feel free to share this video if you think that it would help, other people in your life. I would be more than happy for you to pass that on. Again, please, no medical advice, nothing like that. That's not what this video is trying to be. Let's try and keep it, to things that can help with our mental resiliency. And I just want to say that I really, really sincerely hope that everybody watching this is doing just as well as they can, staying as healthy as they can and as safe as they can. Don't forget to check in on your people. Don't forget to be kind to each other and be kind to yourselves. Please be kind to yourselves. All right. I will talk to you all in the next one. Bye.